Hi there, Dave Hill, Lesson 22. Having a good time with our lessons, I hope. I hope you've been learning a lot. I'm having a lot of fun making these lessons for everybody, so keep practicing hard and you're going to get somewhere. Okay, so let's talk about our warm-up today. I know that on our last lesson, in Lesson 21, I introduced the idea of the diatonic arpeggio sequence. Remember that? Learn that, and you've been practicing that, and that's really good. Keep working on that one. I'm going to show you a new one today, and it's going to relate to the subject that we've been discussing, which is dominant 7 arpeggios. So we're going to learn a diatonic sixth study in a Mixolydian scale. So a Mixolydian scale, if you want to go back and look at this, is simply starting a major scale from the 5th degree of the scale and playing it to the octave. So if you take a C scale, an F scale rather, but you started on the 5th degree of the scale, C, and you play it, it's called C Mixolydian, and it fits over the 5 chord of the key, which is C7. And that's what we've been working on, dominant 7 arpeggio. So that's great. So what we're going to learn is we're going to learn a sequence starting from C and playing up an F major scale from C and playing diatonic 6, which is going to sound like this, every 6th note. Right? And we're going to get a sequence that sounds like this. And these are diatonic 6th in the key of F. Okay? But it's going to sound like C Mixolydian because I'm starting it from the C note right here. Okay, so it's diatonic 6 in C Mixolydian. So this is available as a download too, so you can download this and follow along with me and look at the notation and also of course, the tap. Okay, so read along with me. Here we go. 3 and 4 and... Fingers really move around a lot, and then you come back down. Look at that stretch right there. Okay, so when we're getting into these wider interval sequences, right? Wider meaning wider than thirds, let's say. You get into some interesting stretches here. Okay, so that's what's good about the learning different sequences is you get into different fingering challenges. So let's try this again and try to go up and then come back down. 2, 3, 4. Back down. Do that again. 3 and 4. Okay, so that's just really good to work on because it gives you more cross picking. Okay, so why don't you do that one for your next sequence and next warm-up. Okay, so you probably have quite a few if you go back and look at some of the other lessons and see what you've learned. Quite a few different arpeggio sequences and patterns and sequences of various scales and arpeggios that you can work on. So make sure that you're reviewing those and going through those and keeping those all up to speed and just worked out on, because that's how you're going to get better and work on your technique, is by mixing up all the different things that you've learned and practicing those every day. Okay, so let's pause for a minute. I'm going to write down something and I'm going to be right back. Okay, so last lesson you'll recall that we learned dominant 7 shapes, dominant 7 arpeggios, by referencing and referring back to the major 7 shapes that we already knew. And because of that, we were able to modify just one note and and come up with a new sound. We call those dominant sevens, okay? So we're going to do the same thing today with two new forms of dominant sevens, okay? So you'll recall from a few lessons ago we had this arpeggio from the G shape, right, based off the G form, now in a movable shape up here, and we had something that looked like this for a major seventh in this position. Okay, but now we want to make a dominant seven too, so we want to have this kind of a sound available. Okay, so what we got to do is determine where the major sevenths are and make them flat sevens. Okay, and that's pretty easy to do now, because now you can hear what happens. It fits nicely into our arpeggio sequence. Okay, so it works out pretty well because the stretch one that was here comes in right here. Okay, so that's a nice shape for this position. And I've written it right here so you can see what it looks like. So that would be in C7 or C dominant 7 shape right here. Okay, now let's go to the next form in this position that we can apply here. We've learned major sevenths in this positions, and they were very easy to play because every note was right inside the pattern. Remember those? Okay, now there's the major seventh written right there. Okay, but we want to make a dominant seven today, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the major sevenths right here and right here, and we're going to make dominant, we're going to flat it to the dominant seven right here, and that puts the fingering nicely a whole step below here, right there. And now we've got a dominant seven in two more shapes. Okay, this sounds now like this. Right, so we had a major sevenths that were right here. Now it becomes a dominant seventh by simply doing this. You can hear the sound of this guitar. It's kind of a cool looking guitar, isn't it? Pretty neat. Needs a little adjustment though, because you can hear on the bottom string what happens when I play it on. Got to get that fixed, but it's a pretty cool guitar. Okay, so that fits perfectly the dominant shape right here. So I've got two new forms of dominant seventh. We've got this form right here from the G form, and I've got this form right here from the C form. And they both fit really, really well together in a blues situation where you can play a 1 to a 4 chord in a blues situation. So I'm going to do that now, just like we did last lesson. We're going to use these chords, or these arpeggios, rather. We're going to play them over this chord progression. Okay? So I'm going to give you 8 bars of C7. Now don't worry about it that it says C7 sus and F7 sus. You're still going to play dominant 7 arpeggios, okay? But check it out. With just 2 shapes of arpeggios, you can make a lot of music with this this position without having to move around too much. Just check it out. 3, 4. I'm going to put on a different pedal. driving me nuts, huh? Okay, so, you know, I went up a little bit higher sometimes and I added a couple of notes. But I'm trying to show you that one position right there is going to really give you some really distinctive, clear sounding notes over the chords that I'm playing. And it comes down especially to two notes of the arpeggios that you really want to focus on every time. It's the third of the arpeggio and the seventh of the arpeggio. These two notes and these two positions really give you the feel of the C sound very quickly. If the bass player is playing C and you play these two notes or emphasize them, you can really hear the sound of the chord clearly without even playing the fifth or even the root. Okay? And then interesting to note too that when you go to the F7 step, those two notes go down a half step, and that's the flat 7 and the major third of the F chord. So you can see that these two notes are really only a half step apart in this progression. And that's what really defines the chord progression stronger than anything else. Listen to the way I'm going to use them one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is at the top. You hear how that really defines the sound of the color? In different positions, it might be right here. Okay, so I went a little crazy there, but you know, you can hear that these two notes essentially become the sound of the chord when the bass player plays this low C or the low F. Okay, so what we want you to do then is now start going back and forth between the two forms that you know in one position, C7 and F7 right here. Okay, and then go back to the other shapes that you know, that you learned last week, and play them also right next to each other. Here's C7 right here. And the next position of F was right here. Right? And combine those together in progressions and in a blues situation. So we can do that and have fun. And now a range of about right here between these two shapes. So let's try that for a minute. Let's try C7, up and down, and then go to the next position of C right here, and then come down and play F here, and then come go up this position and play F7 here. Okay, so let's see if we can keep these all straight now. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the next position. Back down to F. Next position of F. C position again. Next position. stay right there. Move down. Stay in that position of play, C. Back it. Down in position. Okay. So when you make your practice of something new like this fun by putting it over a simple progression, but with some kind of restrictions about what you can play on top of it, and just focus on the new thing that you're working on, it makes it challenging, but it makes it have a purpose. It makes your practice have a purpose. It's easy to just start jamming in C right now and playing a lot of different things, but I'm going to try to just focus on two things that I'm working on. It's the arpeggios that I've studied for today, and the new ones, the ones that I learned last lesson, and I'm combining those together. That's what we're trying to do, to make sure that you practice and keep reviewing previous information and not just get into the habit of just going back and playing all the same stuff that you've played before without practicing the new stuff. This is how your playing will expand and evolve if you keep working on new stuff and then eventually find ways to integrate it into the stuff that you already can play well. Okay, so that's our lesson for today, and now you've got 4 dominant 7 shapes that you've learned, and that's going to take you a while to really practice them and get them down, but at least that's a good start. You already know 5 shapes of major 7, so that's a lot of arpeggios you're working on. We're going to continue studying these real hard, and I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, see you later, bye.